YouTube family, what's good with you? It's your boy 2A and A, and as always, fam, anything I say in this episode, prior episodes, and future episodes is just my personal opinion. Don't take it as fact. Don't take it as law. Always do your own homework and come up with your own conclusions. Right about now, fam, I should go ahead and tap that like button for your boy. If you're new to the channel, I want to say welcome. Come on in. You can join the congregation by smashing that subscribe button and requesting all post notifications. And if you are an existing supporter of this channel, fam, I appreciate you more than you can possibly imagine. You are the reason this channel is anything. Alright, fam, before we get this episode rolling, just a couple of disclaimers. I do not sell firearms, nor do I promote the sale of firearms or accessories or anything that would constitute a violation of YouTube community guidelines. Any reviews that I do on firearms or accessories are just that. They are for review purposes only. And if I reference the gun manufacturer or the company that happened to supply the product, I am just referencing that for disclosure purposes. All right? Now, fam, look. If you are not a member of the 2A NLA fam club, I do not know what you are doing at this point in time. As a member of the fan club, you receive unreleased content. You will receive content early. You become automatically eligible for all the giveaways that we do on our bi-weekly live streams, fam. Look. I believe I offer some of the best giveaway opportunities on YouTube. So make sure you're a member of the fam club. It's only $2.99 a month. Just click on that join button down below. And if you are interested in any of the 2A NLA merchandise, just hit that QR code in the corner. You see it. You see it right there. That will take you to the 2A NLA channel. Also, you can sign up to participate in a lot of our giveaways there. So make sure you hit that QR code. All right, that's it. Now let's get back into the episode. All right, fam, let's get this episode rolling. So we have a good one for you today. As you guys know, Glock is starting to evolve. They dropped a bunch of their models. For people out here in California, that kind of sucks because these guns have been on the handgun roster forever and were kind of a mainstay. And obviously, beyond just the state of California, people have been buying Glocks forever. They are kind of the polymer framed striker fired standard, right? Well, some years back, we entered into the Glock clone evolution. And it seemed like for the better part of a decade, everybody and their grandmother had a Glock clone, right, that they were putting out. Some people did it better than others. One of the things that stands out to me is how Agency Arms has navigated these waters and has, you know, developed a reputation for producing Glock style pistols that have all the features that people want. So the thing is, yes, you can go and you can buy a stock Glock, and then you can extend the grip out to get stippled, and then you can upgrade the trigger, and then you can upgrade the slide, and you can upgrade the internals, right? And then you can port the barrel and upgrade the barrel and then port the barrel, right? Once you do all of that, you know, that $500, $600 gun is probably going to be a couple of grand probably when it's all said and done. That's been my experience. I have redone Glocks. I redid a Glock 26, I redid my Glock 19, and I redid my Glock 17. So if I can find pictures of those, I'll put those up there for you, right? So needless to say, I have some hands-on experience. And then I've also had experience where you just buy a finished Glock with the upgrades. Kovert came out with the G-Wagon series where they partnered with Combat Precision and took kind of a 2011 themed upper and paired it with a Glock framed lower. And that by far was the best Glock pistol I had ever shot, including the ones that I upgraded with ramjets and all the other stuff on it. And that Combat Precision G-Wagon, or Kovert G-Wagon, was, in my opinion, kind of the pinnacle of Glocks. I liked it even better than the Taran Tactical Glocks in terms of the shootability. Now, I think, you know, Taran has an aesthetic that people go for, and when you put his name on something, it automatically takes it up a notch in terms of aesthetic and in terms of price point, right? And so I don't own a Taran Glock because I always feel like, oh, well, at a $4,000 price point, $4,500 price point, which is where those guns trade for, I'm not willing to pay that level of premium, particularly when I can build up my own Glocks for around $2K. Or the G-Wagon at that point, the Kovert G-Wagon, was trading in the $2s, and I felt like they were as good, if not better, shooters. And so that was kind of my mindset. Well, fast forward, Agency Arms partners with Kovert, and fam, we have got that little G26. Again, everything that you would kind of want in a 26. It's got the Agency Arm logo. It is stippled to the 9s. Highly attractive slide with the serrations and everything, and the design work with the Agency Arms. You've got Agency on the barrel, on the side, and on the top, their logo, obviously optic ready, low front sights, and it is ported. And let me see if I can get a clear picture of that. If not, I'll put some pictures up there of the port job. So you've got the Glock 26. If you want something a little bigger, your hands like mine are a little bit big, you need a little more real estate to work with, you've got the G19 version right here. Again, all the same stippling and design work. Timney trigger, I didn't mention that last time. You've got the undercut right there that helps you get a really good purchase on the gun. It is also ported. It's got the slide cuts to lighten up the frame. Look. If you are looking for, it's got stippling along there so you can get a better purchase on that ledge that they kind of build into the frame from you. It's got additional texturing in front and underneath. I mean, just a really, really good job, well done gun, and that's the G19 version. Last but certainly not least, we've got the G34. Again, stippled to the 9, Agency Arms. I just added a Taran Tactical magwell to it. Timney trigger, also ported, got all the window cuts in it that you will want. Obviously, optic ready. Look, very, very, very dynamic firearm. Now, if my memory serves correct, I think like the barrel length on the 26 is about 3.4, 3.5. I want to say the barrel length on the Glock 19 is right around 4 inches. And I think the barrel length on the G34 is just over 5 inches or so. Maybe 5.3, something like that. But I'll go ahead and I'll put the specs up there so you guys can check those out. Look, I think Agency Arms and Kovert did an outstanding job relative to these firearms. If you want a custom Glock that has all the bells and whistles, and you don't want to have to buy it in components and put it together, and you don't want to have to ship it out and do all that, you just want to pay your money and come away with an incredible Glock 26 size, 19 size, or 34 size, these have got to be on your radar. But look, that's kind of the big picture. Let's get into the review itself. Now, if you've never seen a 2A and LA review, it works like this. 0 is the worst possible gun in the history of the world. 100 is the best possible gun in the history of the world. If you've got a gun that's kind of 50 to 60, then that's a right down the middle gun. Gonna go bang every time. going to be very reliable, just doesn't have a lot of fills and thrills. And that's typically where you would find a Glock 26, a Glock 19, and a Glock 34, kind of right in that 50 to 60 range. If you got something that's kind of 60 and 70, okay, that gun has a feature or two that's separated from the mid. If you've got something kind of 70 to 80, okay, well now you're kind of cooking with some gas, right? If you got something that's 80 to 89, now you're getting into best in class territory, especially if you're 85 to 89. If you got something 90 and above, that's grail gun status. All right, so look fam, as I mentioned, an out of the box Glock is probably going to get you somewhere between a 50 and 60 on the 2A NLA scale. So I'm very curious to see how these guns end up when we are talking about essentially Glocks that are maxed out in terms of the improvements that you can make. So first off, let's start off with fit and finish. Look, obviously steel slide, polymer frame pistol, striker fire pistol, but stippling and contouring of the grip that really takes it up to a different level. Timney trigger, like we talked about all of the slide work that was done to lessen the slide and everything. I think the fit and finish on this gun is amazing. Now look, fam, this is not, I know you guys are used to seeing me in recent years. You see me do a lot of 2011 style pistols. This is not that. You know, this is a polymer striker fire gun, so you aren't going to be getting fit and finishes that are 13, 14, 15 at the very, very high end of kind of pistol manufacturing. But as polymer striker fire pistol goes, I think you're going to be hard pressed to find a polymer striker pistol with better fit and finish than this. So we're going to give it for fit and finish an 11 out of a possible 15. All right, fam. Next up, reliability. Look, I mentioned this is a Glock, right? I said this is a Glock, right? Glock 19 to be exact, right? I don't know if it gets more reliable. And certainly in shooting all three of these, I had zero malfunctions. None, nada, zero. I put a lot of rounds through all three of them and had no issues, and I didn't expect to, because again, these are Glocks. They are built to run, and you know, the same thing that sometimes will cause issues in a 2011 with the tolerances being so tight, where tuning really comes into play, and if something little is out of whack, it can result in a reliability issue. You don't have that with Glock style pistols. Reliability, 15 out of 15. All right, fam. Next up, durability. So look, flip side of this is that this is a polymer framed pistol, right? Sure, Glocks are known to be durable and reliable, take a licking and keep on ticking, but this is not a steel framed gun, a steel grip, steel slide, right? It is polymer, it is plastic at the end of the day, but very well done here. I would say for durability, we're going to give it a 12 out of a possible 15. All right, fam. Next up, trigger. Look, Timney triggers in these live just ever so slightly take a little bit of take up, right? You're kind of get that wall almost immediately. Like almost as soon as that safety gets engaged, you're kind of at the wall. Crisp, clean break. Reset. A little bit of travel. So again, fam, as compared to a 2011 trigger, no, this trigger is not good. But compared to a striker fire trigger, I don't know if there's a better striker fire trigger out there than Timney right now. You got certainly Apex and a couple of others, but I think this is arguably the best striker fire trigger on the market. For trigger, we're going to give it a 12 out of a possible 15. All right, fam. Next up, accuracy. Look, accuracy is going to vary a little bit here because we've got a very short barrel 26 to a 19 to like a competition style 34 pistol. Obviously, this is by far the most accurate of the group, but since I'm kind of reviewing all three, I found all three to be accurate. Obviously, the G34 more so than others, just in terms of barrel accuracy. What I'd like to talk a little bit about is about shootability, because this part really kind of caught me off guard. When we talk about accuracy, my definition of accuracy is a little bit looser. I'm not talking about just barrel accuracy, right? Like the size of the groups. I'm talking about how easy it is to keep the gun accurate. Like if all you're doing is standing stationary at an indoor range with, trigger pull at a time, of course, yeah. All guns are going to be relatively accurate. But in a self-defense situation, when your adrenaline is pumping, or if you're in an outdoor range and you're moving and you're firing at a more rapid pace, how easy is it to stay accurate? I gotta say, I was very impressed. These ports don't look like much, but they do a very good job. They've got those kind of long oval V-porting system, and it keeps the gun really, really flat. Now, I am not a polymer grip guy. I prefer a metal grip on my gun. I've gotten kind of spoiled that way, but whenever I do get a polymer gun in my hand, one of the things that I enjoy is the flex that the polymer has that really allow you to grip the gun better, get a better purchase on the gun. So I was very impressed with the accuracy of the guns, including the little ones. So obviously, depending on which one may vary, but all in all, for accuracy, we're going to give it an 8 out of a possible 10. Next up, ergonomics. Again, this is going to vary a little bit because the grip sizes change. Look, a 26 is a tiny, for a guy who has big hands, as you can see, my pinky is loose on it. I would probably want something that had an extended base plate on the mag, but I was still able to control the gun very, very well. And obviously, the 19 and the 34 are great. I would also say that the stippling on these is impressively done. I've seen a lot of stipple jobs, some really good ones, some not so good ones, and I gotta say, these are about as well stippled as I have seen in terms of aesthetics and in terms of feel. Very, very easy to keep your grip on the gun, even when your hands are like sweaty or you're in more humid environments. Yeah, I really, really like the way the gun feel. They're balanced really well. I've gotten a little spoiled with 2011 grip angles. I like that better than Glock grip angles, but I still had no problem whatsoever with these guns. So for ergonomics, we're gonna give it a 7 out of a possible 10. All right, fam, these next two categories, we're gonna kind of lump them together: aftermarket support and maintenance and upkeep. Let me just say this about aftermarket support: you don't need any, because these guns are already done to the nines. No work needed. That's kind of the point of, like, when people talk about getting a Glock clone that's more expensive, like a higher end Glock clone. I'm not talking about like a dagger, but like a higher end Glock clone. And they're like, oh, but I want to send it out. I'm sending it out for what? For why? That's the whole purpose of buying the higher end clone, is that you don't have to do anything to it. Whatever you would want to do, it is already done. Stippling, trigger, slide work, porting, optic ready. Yeah, all there. All there. That said, though, if you did want to do something, it's a Glock. Is there any firearm that has more aftermarket support than Glock? That would be a no. No. So aftermarket support, definitely 5 and 5. And maintenance and upkeep, come on, it's a Glock. It doesn't get any more easier to upkeep. So we're going to give it a 5 out of 5 for aftermarket support and a 5 out of 5 for maintenance and upkeep. Next up, affordability. So look, these are not Glock prices, right? This is not your $500, $600 Glock. So you're not going to be anywhere near that range. Like I said, if you were kind of building a Glock up from scratch to get it to where it is now, you're probably going to spend about $2,000. Now, it's an agency arms gun, and what I like about this is a lot of times, fam, you buy a Glock, and I know this because I've lived it, right? You buy a gun and you put a lot of aftermarket support in it and you end up spending $2,000. If you ever decide you want to sell that gun because you did that work yourself, you are losing a lot of trade-in value on the sale. What I like about these agency arms gun is that they're going to, as long as you take care of the gun, they're going to retain the value because this gun comes this way. And agency has developed a reputation in which they produce really quality Glock type products. And so I'm loving this, but it is not expensive. I'll go ahead and I'll put the MSRP up there. Look, it's a pretty penny for a Glock style gun. So yes, they are very expensive for Glock guns, but I think the value is there up front and on an ongoing basis. So for affordability though, I could only give it a 3 out of a possible 5. Last but not least, flex. Is Instagram gonna go crazy? Or your boy's gonna be like, damn, are you gonna be the envy of all the Striker Fire Glock fanboys? 100%. 100%. This is a sexy looking Glock. As Glocks go, it is hard to beat that look. And I think whether it's the 26, whether it's the 19, or whether it's the 34, which is my personal favorite, I think all of these guns are very, very attractive and well done guns. For flex, we're going to give it 3 out of a possible 5. All right, fam, when you add all of that up, you get, wait for it, an 81 out of a possible 100. Now look, you guys are used to me talking about Rafferties and Venoms and Infinities and Grail guns and all of that. This is not that. But I told you an out-of-the-box Glock is probably going to get you somewhere between a 50 and a 60 in terms of score. So the fact that you can essentially buy an out-of-the-box Glock that's going to take you north of 80 is very, very, very impressive for these guns. Kudos to Agency Arms and Kovert. Special shout out to Kovert for sending the guns out to the channel for review. All right, fam, that's it for this episode. Until next time, as always, take care of one another and peace.